cases. So having said all that, I would ask my noble friend to withdraw his amendment.
My Lord, it is my intention to withdraw my amendment, but perhaps I can just say a few words after a fairly long debate that we, your lordships, have had on my amendment. First of all, I'd like to thank those noble lords, and there were several of them, who accepted the principle that I was seeking, and it was nice to have that support. But as was very clear, that I didn't have one noble lord who actually accepted my amendment, and therefore I'm not exactly in a strong position to press it forward now or indeed at report. What I didn't realise when I was citing 3 cases that were put before us by Spotlight on Corruption, that in every one the noble Lord Wolfson was counsel, so he has a very extensive practice and knowledge, a greater and extensive practice and knowledge that I was giving him credit for when I gave my opening words. And my lords, that one thing I think has been missed in this debate, which was the first point I made, and that is that I wanted us, by legislation, to set out our standard. And I described the first importance of my amendment, which was to put a flag in the ground so that the world may know that we will not countenance in arbitration proceedings relating in arbitration proceedings where England is the seat of the arbitration, we will not countenance corruption and fraud. And that, I thought, I still think, was a very important point. The next thing I'd like to move on to is the noble and learned lord. I didn't know when I got up to speak there was going to be such a formidable line of learned and noble lords alongside me, including the former Lord Chief Justice. He hasn't actually spoken, but he's a devastating commitment to good argument, and so I'm not inviting him now to make any interventions, because he will make some argument which will totally defeat what I'm trying to say. But my Lord's just referring to Lord Hoffman, that he said it was impractical, and of course arbitral tribunals don't have the power of investigation. The point I was making was that if the arbitral tribunal at the commencement of the arbitration speaks to both counsel and the parties who should be present at the inaugural meeting of the arbitral tribunal, and remind them of the seriousness of rooting out any corruption or fraud. And when I also pointed out, and I've done that as former counsel and former solicitor, that when you're taking instructions from a client and taking statements from clients' witnesses, you have a lot of opportunity to know what is going on. And so there is a role, as I suggest, of counsel and indeed the parties in rooting out arbitrations. And that's why I thought it was useful to have this provision. May I just address the noble and learned Lord Hope? He said that the committee, which was so nobly and well chaired by the noble Lord Thomas, hadn't reached any view about corruption. In fact, there was a reason for that, because at the instigation, I don't know if Lord Thomas is listening, but at the instigation of the noble Lord Thomas, we got these 2 reports from Spotlight on corruption. And the view of Lord Thomas and the view of those of us in the committee, under the timetable we were then working, this was too bigger an issue for us to take it on, and that's why we made no pronouncement on that subject. Now, my lords, that my front bench is getting a bit restless, but I'm sure that there will be plenty of time to consider the next motion. I rather get the feeling that there's going to be an intervention now in the committee of the arbitration bill, and we're going to debate another excitement. My lords, that I am withdrawing this bill, but I hope the noble lords have heard and agree that this is a continuing matter. And what I'm particularly grateful for from my noble friend, that his promise to keep this under review, and may it please be kept under review.
Right, I'm up this time. Is it your Lordship's pleasure that Amendment 1 be withdrawn? Amendment by leave withdrawn. Questions that clauses 5 through to 9 stand part of the bill. As soon as that opinion will say content.
Content.
Contrary not content, the contents have it.
My Lords, I beg to move that the House be resumed.
Questions that the House be now resumed. Okay. I'm not clear what I'm doing next. I was thinking that. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. I shall be back.
My Lords, I beg to move that the committee stage be adjourned until conclusion of the debate on the 3 motions relating to the Social Fund winter fuel payment regulations.
The question is that this particular stage be postponed until we are ready to move on. So if that opinion will say content? Content. Contrary not content? Contents have it. I can withdraw. I now get to leave. But we're about to start the next one.